Welcome to all. A Bend in the River was written by V.S. Naipaul. Author introduction. V.S. Naipaul is a British novelist and a travel writer. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 2001, written in 1979. A Bend in the River is a drama about human nature and finding one's way in post colonial Africa. Chapter 7 Analysis. Chapter 7 lays bare the ideological divide that separated the Domin from the nearby town. Salim saw the Domin as completely different from the town in terms of both the quality of its social life and its overall outlook on the world. The people who populated the Tomin came from a diverse array of backgrounds, both African and European, and their common pursuit of questions related to the future of Africa created an energetic atmosphere of social connection and political engagement. In short, the Domin sustained a community that, despite its geographical isolation, felt a strong connection to the outside world. By contrast, the overall atmosphere of the town at the bend in the river was anxious and cynical. Although the people who lived in the town came from other parts of Africa and from Europe, they lived static and largely disconnected lives that prevented them from feeling a strong sense of community, whereas the Domin represented the promise of a new Africa. The town remained stuck in an old repeating cycle that had persisted throughout pre-colonial and colonial times. As a high-power intellectual and a creative space, the Domin attracted individuals who were interested in advancing an Africa that did not yet exist. Salim recognized that the president had commissioned the Domin as an experiment, hoping to produce a model for how Africa might insert itself into a modern world. In keeping with the aspirational foundation of the Domin, the intellectual work performed at the university there centered on forward thinking philosophical questions about what the new Africa could look like and who the new African would be. Such questions are necessarily abstract and speculative in nature, and Salim felt concerned that they were diverse from the on the ground reality of Africa as he experienced it. Just as Salim saw the aborted agricultural project as a sign of the Domin hopelessly ambitious reach, he also suspected that the big questions about Africa's future would prove too idealistic to be any use. In other words, the new Africa imagined by Domin intellectual not only did not yet exist, it might never exist. Despite the many differences in background and personality that separated them, Salim and Enter shared a sense of being outsiders. On the surface, their upbringing diverges greatly from Salim's, whereas Inder came from a wealthy family and received a prestigious education. Salim grew up in a more middle class family and left school at the age of 16. In their wealth and education enabled him to become a globe-trotting intellectual constantly on the move and in conversation with other men of the world. By contrast, Salim's limited means prevented him from a life of endless possibility, and after moving to the African interior, he became increasingly stuck, his worldview increasingly partial. In spite of these clear differences, however, both Inter and Salim share a common cultural background as a part of the Indian community of the East African coast. As Saints who grew up in Africa, the two men share a profound sense of dislocation, a sense made worse by the violent uprising that took place not long after Salim's departure. Regardless of their different position in the world, both Inter and Salim remain unsettled by their persistent outsider status. During their reunion, Salim realized that more than any other personality trait, Inter could be characterized by his rejection of sentimentality. When Inter describes his first trip back to the coast since he left for university, he highlighted how air travel helped him manage his emotional response. Enter had expected the trip to make him sad since he knew the uprising on the coast had profoundly impacted the Indian community there. Yet rapid travel the aeroplane enabled gave him less time to revel in the sadness he did expected to feel. Inter felt liberated to realize that he could avoiding suffering by simply avoiding nostalgia for the past. And though Salim would not give his full account of Inter rejection of sentimentality until chapter 9, the reader can already see how a rejection has formed in their broader outlook. For instance, when Ferdinand asks him about African religion, Ender insists that the question emerges from a sentimental desire to hold on to something from the past that no longer serves modern Africans. Ender rejection of sentimentality also appears clearly in the cynical questions he poses to Salim. Does one believe in anything? Does it matter? Thank you to all.